pages. All right. Cartels? Okay, we are online. Okay. Good to see everybody. Welcome to Bhagavatam class. Yeah, grab that. Just mute everybody. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopijana Malabha Giribaro Dhagudve Gopijana Malabha Giribaro Dhagudve Yasodananda Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodananda Vrajajana Ranjana Jamona Ravana Chahode Yamuna Ravana Chahode Jayo Radha Madhuva Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhuva Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balaba Girivara Dhagode Gopijana Balaba Girivara Dhagode Yasodananda Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodananda Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Manachagate Yamana Tera Vanachagate Jai Hurad Madhava Kunya Bihari Jai Hurad Madhava Kunya Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatakacharya. All Stupteta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace, Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Parem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopakapata Sayam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Maturanam Ki Jai. Jagadata Swami Ki Jai. Yamunamai Ki Jai. Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bom. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 16th chapter, text 62. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yo Asmin Snatva Mad Akride Devadims Tarpayesh Jalahai Uposha Mam Smaran Archet Sarva Papai Pramuchate Yosmin Snatva Madha Kridehi Devadims Tarpayes Jadahai Uposhamam Smaranarchet Sarva Papai Pramuchate Yosmin Snatva Mada Kridehi Devadims Tarpayesh Jalahe Uposhamam Smaranarchet Sarva Papai Pramuchate Yosmin Snatva Madakride Devadims Tarpayesh Jalahe Uposhamam Smaranarchet Sarva Papai Pramuchate. So, anyone? Alrighty. Yaha. Who? Asmin, in this Kaliya's lake in the Yamuna River. Snatva, bathing. Madakride, the place of my pastime. Deva Adin, the demigods and other worshipable personalities. Tarpayet, gratifies. Jalahai, with the water of that lake. Uposha, observing a fast. Mam, me. Smaran, remembering. Archet, performs worship. Sarvapapahai, from all sinful reactions. Pramuchyate, he becomes freed. Translation: if one bathes in this place of my pastimes and offers the water of this lake to the demigods and other worshipable personalities, or if one observes a fast and duly worships and remembers me, he is sure to become free from all sinful reactions. So you can repeat. If one bathes in this place of my pastimes and offers the water of this lake to the demigods and other worshipable personalities, or if one observes a fast and duly worships and remembers me, he is sure to become free from all sinful reactions. So, purport by the servants of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. According to the Acharyas, the Lord spoke this verse to make it clear that Kaliya, that he could by no means remain in the Yamuna lake. Although the Lord had mercifully pardoned the serpent and ordered him to go to the ocean with all his associates, Kaliya should not even consider requesting to remain in the lake, because it was now to become a holy place for spiritual pilgrims. And I actually wanted to combine the next verse too with this. So text 63, because it's very much connected. Dvipam ramannakam mitva radam etam upashritaha yudvayatsa suparnastvam najjamat pada lanchitam. Okay. So Omagana Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shi Gurave Maha Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Krishna, in the first verse here, Krishna is actually telling Kaliya indirectly to avoid committing offenses against Vaishnavas, because the great saints, sages, and demigods who are also Vaishnavas are going to be bathing in this lake or respecting the lake, and if Kaliya remains, he will continue to commit offenses. And actually, Kaliya had committed a very grievous offense against Garuda, which we're going to hear about sometime in the future, and that Kaliya actually was afraid of Garuda, and Kaliya was trying to avoid Garuda, and so he took shelter in the Yamuna River to avoid Garuda. Anyway, so, and also Kaliya had committed so many offenses against the residents of Vrindavan by poisoning them, poisoning the cows at least. And so Krishna wants to protect his new devotee. Because Kaliya is a new bhakta at this particular point. And so with new bhaktas, you have to tell them about the 10 offenses against chanting. Specifically, the first offense, which is the blasphemy of the devotees of the Lord who have dedicated their lives to propagating the holy name of the Lord. So, as far as the residents of Vrindavan or anyone who goes to Braj, they're actually in a very special category. So, Kaliya is being advised, avoid that by all means. No, he's a new devotee. He's getting instructions right now in devotional service, how to proceed. And then he's told in the second verse to go somewhere. So, and then he's assured. All right, let's talk about where he's going. He's going to Fiji. That's why I wanted to read this particular verse and not miss this verse. So, Ramanaka refers to actually Fiji. And how do I know that? Well, Prabhupada said that. Prabhupada said that Kali was originally from Fiji, but he was being harassed by Garuda, and so he went to the lake in the Yamuna because he knew that Garuda would not harass him there, because Garuda had been cursed by the sage Shobhari Muni not to go into this lake or eat fish from the lake, because Shobhari Muni was protecting the fish. And I'm not going to tell the story about Shobhari Muni. So Kali went to Fiji, and he, according to the, this is some Fiji stories, according to the residents of Fiji, who actually worship Kaliya to this day, he lives in a place called Reiki. Sounds interesting. In a mountain. There's a mountain cave there. And in that cave, there's a channel that connects with the ocean. So he can go swim on a daily basis. His swimming pool. And so many devotees, actually from ISKCON, have tried to go to see him. And there's one story about Indradunya Maharaj. One time he tried to go and see Kaliya in this lake or in the top of the mountain. And the natives wouldn't take him because it's a sacred place. And the natives respect Kaliya. And how, apart from Prabhupada telling us that Kaliya went to Fiji, how do we know it was Kaliya? Well, there's one bit of evidence, is when the devotees first started to distribute books in Fiji, especially the book with the picture of the Kaliya serpent on it, by Krishna book. And the devotees would show people the pictures in the books, and the natives, as they were distributing the books to the natives, would look at the picture and say, "That's our God. That's our God. That's who we worship." They actually identified him, and some of them had seen him, because it's a very interesting native culture there, where they're worshiping different elements of nature, and also they used to be cannibals. Fiji Islands were used to be known as the Cannibal Islands because when the first ministers went there, then the natives started to chant the Prasadam prayer. Savira Vijaya. Now let us take this priest to our full satisfaction, and in love call out to Kaliya. Anyways, I'm just joking about that. So, anyway, that's one story about Kaliya in Fiji, and there's other stories too. One in particular shows that Kaliya is not a demon. He's actually a devotee, and he's protecting the devotees. This is once upon a time in the temple that Srila Prabhupada started in Lotuka, the original temple. It's called the Kaliya Krishna Temple, or Krishna Kaliya. Sometimes they call it Krishna Kaliya, Kaliya Krishna. Prabhupada actually arranged for the deity of Kaliya to be made along with Krishna and the Nagapatnis. It's a beautiful temple, beautiful deity. And Prabhupada told them how to do it, and Prabhupada arranged for the installation. He had different devotees come from all over, different sannyasis come from all over to do the installation. And so what happened in that temple is, once upon a time, there were some envious young people, or people who were members of a different sect, let's say. And they weren't Muslims. But anyway, different sect. And they became very much incensed that the devotees were worshiping figurines. I remember yesterday, I was having a discussion with some of our workers, and they said, "What are those figures?" They call it imagen. they didn't say imagine, but imagen, that means Spanish for figures, or statues, like images. So they said, what are those figures on the altar in your temple? And I explained in a very simple way to them, because they're Catholic. I said, I said to them that just like in your church, you have figures of Virgin Mary and Lord Jesus Christ. I said, it's just the same. Instead of getting into this whole philosophical discussion, which most people wouldn't understand, that, the whole mailbox discussion, that if the post office authorizes a mailbox, of course they don't have mailboxes anymore as far as I've seen recently, but if the post office authorizes a mailbox, you can drop the letter off in any mailbox and it's taken on its journey. Of course, the deities are not exactly a mailbox to transport our prayers to the real Krishna, because the deity is directly Krishna, somehow or other, by Krishna's amazing potency and potencies. Parasha Shakti Vivadaiva Shuyate Shvabhavaki Jnana Balagriyacha. Krishna can arrange for those material elements to be transmuted or transformed so that he's there. So anyway, so these children, these kids, actually they were adults, but they were young people. And they got very upset that we were worshiping images in our temple. And they decided, let's burn the temple down. And so they threw fire bombs at the temple. Fire bombs means like what you call Molotov cocktails. That means you take a soda bottle and you put gasoline or petrol, as they call it, in it, and you put a little wick there on the top. You light it and throw it. So they threw these at the temple. And they also did it at other Hindu temples too, at the same time. But fortunately, the fire department is right next to us. And the other temple's burnt down. So we had, the half of the temple was burned. Unfortunately, the Prabhupada Murti got burnt like that. But not the altar with the deities. That was protected because the fire department came and they put everything out, or as they call the fire brigade, because originally the fire department used to be a whole brigade of people holding buckets where they pass it from one to the other. Just like when the gopis tried to fill Radha Kund with water from the Manasi Ganga, they made a brigade. So anyway, so what happened was remarkable after that. Of course, we renovated the temple. The devotees renovated the temple and installed another deity, Prabhupada, there. But then those 5 young people who had done this dastardly act passed away within about 2 years. And we didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, they all passed away through, because of different means. What do I mean different means? One died in an automobile accident, another got some illness, whatever. It wasn't all together, and it was actually directly Krishna who did it. We had nothing to do with it. Then the native chief in Fiji, he had a dream. And in that dream, Kaliya appeared to him, his worshipable deity, because Kaliya is the worshipable deity of the natives there in Fiji. He appeared to him, and he told him that if you ever touch any of my devotees again, I'll kill you. Not only kill you, I'll kill all the natives. So from that point forward, everybody's been very respectful to us because Kaliya protects us. And Kaliya has actually become an advanced devotee. But in this particular case, in this particular verse, he was actually just starting off his devotional service and getting instructions. So one of the aspects of starting off devotional service is marking your body. Tapan Pundra, these are actually important parts of initiation. Actually, Krishna was initiating him. Just like we have parts of our body that we mark, or signs or things we put on our body, like what? Neck beads, tilak, and different accoutrements. Of course, it's not the dhoti is not one of those items, fortunately. So if Yamaraj comes when I'm wearing shorts, I'm sure he'll be able to identify me. But these things are very important. Prabhupada actually considered neck beads and tilak to be very, very important. And, of course, we are not worried about getting attacked by Garuda, but we should be worried about Yamaraj. So if one has the signs of a Vaishnava, and if one is chanting Hare Krishna, Yamaraj doesn't come. So in the same way, that Kaliya was marked with the footprints of Krishna on his heads, and that was his, as mentioned in the first Tapyan, that was his mark of initiation, his tilak. He had a little bit different tilak than we had. But actually our tilak is also the footprints of Krishna. You understand? That's interesting, isn't it? We don't get it on top of it. Well, of course, part of it's top of the head. That's true. Actually, we put it on top of the head. We put it on different parts of the body. So Kaliya was actually getting his initiation and getting tilak at this particular point. So it's very important for us to keep these different signs of a Vaishnava. And one may think, oh, we won't fit in so well in society. And I'm not talking about dhotis right now. We won't fit in so much in society if we don't keep these things. Well, these are signs that people remember Krishna. For example, we have so many workers here. And every time not every time, but many times I walk by, they're asking me about these different signs. Because if I directly went up to them and said, hey, you're going to hell, or something like that. You got to become a vegetarian, accept the Lord in the heart, or whatever. It just wouldn't work very well. So yesterday we had this nice discussion with some of the Mexican workers, and they were asking, what is this thing you're holding in your hand? And of course, the other day we had one of the other workers, the plumbing workers, an older man, an older gentleman. He asked me the question, what's in your hand? And I said, well, these beads, these are like chanting beads. We chant the names of God, and our life becomes successful. And then he went to our contractor, and he said, because he was a little shy to ask me, he went to the contractor, and he said to the contractor, can I get some beads too? And the contractor, happy. Actually, Prabhupada said, turning hippies to happy. So he's one of the hippies who became happy. So anyway, it's a very appropriate name. And when he takes initiation, we'll give him the name Shuka. Happiness. Not dukkha, unhappiness. Anyway. So he came to me, and I immediately, just enthusiastically ran to my repository of beads and found, wrist beads. Not a whole strand of beads, but you got to start people up slowly, because to chant 16 rounds on 108 beads might be difficult. And then I immediately printed out the Maha Mantra in big letters for him. I immediately went and bought some of my books for him to read. And he was very great, and immediately ran upstairs. And the plate had just come off the altar, and the pujari was shocked that I just grabbed Mahaprasadam off the plate. I mean, normally I don't do that. Not for myself, obviously. But I was so enthusiastic to, give this person Krishna consciousness. This should be our mood. I was listening to a class this morning by Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was talking about the overwhelming compassion a devotee has. And when a devotee sees someone suffering or hears about someone suffering, first of all, Prabhupada was talking about how miserable it is to take birth in the material world, to be packed up in the womb. He said, do you want to do that? Do you want to go through this whole thing over and over again? And then Prabhupada talked about the overwhelming compassion that a Vaishnava has, and basically the willingness that a Vaishnava has to go through that. And I was thinking about that statement that the Vaishnava is willing to go into someone's womb, a lady's womb, hopefully, because things aren't equal. Anyway, you're willing to go into someone's womb and suffer for so many months just for the idea of helping people. Could you imagine if I said, all right, for 9 months, you're going to be in isolation? Isn't it just like people getting very upset that they have to be, voluntary isolation now to protect themselves against the coronavirus. And they're really upset about this. So I said, so I was thinking, to help people, you have to be like cramped up like that for 9 months. Not only that, go through, childhood, education, everything. So I was thinking about how compassionate the Vaishnavas are, especially His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, in going through all of that, which is actually miserable. I mean, you could say, as a pure devotee, yes, he's always thinking of Krishna. Yes. Going through all those things, probably getting gored by a bull and heart attacks and everything, just out of an overwhelming sense of love and compassion for everybody. That's a Vaishnava. It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, just think of what Prabhupada went through. And so, I was thinking, we're chanting every morning, Mama Janmani, Janmani Shvare, Bhavatad Bhakti Ahoita Gitwaye. We should be willing, birth after birth, as long as we can serve Krishna. I mean, that's a very high standard of devotional service. Mama Janmani, Janmani Shvare, Bhavatad Bhakti Ahoita Gitwaye. Anyway, so in order to preach, getting back to the point, in order to preach Krishna consciousness, we should be very much willing to have these signs of Vaishnava on us. Beads. People ask me questions all the time about the beads. Of course, sometimes they think when I'm chanting on the beads in the airplane that I'm so nervous that the plane's going to crash, and the stewardess comes up to me. In the old days when you could touch someone, she'd put her arm on me and say, "It's all right, mister. You will be all right. The plane's going to be all right." Another time a steward thought it was a pocketbook. But anyways, but it's really good. We should go out there when it's practical. Go out there and just reach out to people in the mood of Srila Prabhupada, because Prabhupada has sacrificed so much for us. And then also Prabhupada is talking about that verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, "No one is more dear to me than he or she who preaches Krishna consciousness or teaches this Bhagavad Gita." And Prabhupada says that's an instant way to make Krishna recognize you, to actually go out or to reach out to people. Anyway, so here Kaliya is being advised to keep his sign, or he couldn't get rid of it, but being advised that the sign on his head is actually going to protect him. And so we should think the same way about the signs that we have. Tapa and Pundra. These are all necessities of initiation or connecting to Krishna consciousness. And another sampradaya is they actually brand you with these different signs. And Madhvacharya's followers, they actually take a hot brand at initiation and put it on you. Anyway, so this is what I wanted to talk about: avoiding offenses, the signs of Krishna on our body and on Kaliya's body, and also Fiji, the pastimes of Kaliya in Fiji. And I'm not going to try to see him in Fiji. It's just, I can see him through Prabhupada's words. I don't need to go to see him. I can communicate to him through the Maha Mantra. Actually, Prabhupada would often say, don't try to see Krishna, have Krishna try to see you. So that's the point. If you want to see Krishna, then he has to agree to see you first. And that's through our service. So, any questions or comments? We'll leave it. Yeah. Prabhupada was there, yeah. Prabhupada was in Fiji. Yeah, Prabhupada went to Fiji twice, actually. Once to inaugurate the temple, and the other time he was passing through. There's an interesting story of how Prabhupada spread Krishna consciousness in Fiji. Prabhupada was a transit passenger in the Fiji airport because at that time they didn't have direct flights to Australia because I guess the planes didn't have enough fuel. They weren't designed to fly that long. So Prabhupada was a transit passenger, and there was one of my godbrothers, his name was Vasudev, who has since passed away, who heard that Prabhupada was coming through, and because he had some influence in the government, he was a very successful Gujarati businessman. And basically they controlled the economy there. So he was passing through, Prabhupada was passing through, and then he got in to the Vasudev got into the transit lounge, and he got to see Prabhupada, offered obeisances to Prabhupada. And the first thing Prabhupada asked him, is there any Radha Krishna temple here? And Vasudev said, no. I mean, there were many other temples. I mean, there were Durga temples, Ganesh temples, Shiva temples, but no Radha Krishna temple. Certainly no Gaur-Nitai temple. And then the next thing Prabhupada said was, make one. It's just like when Prabhupada came in touch with his spiritual master, practically the first thing Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said was, you are all educated young boys, so you should preach Chaitanya's message in English. And that meant in the English-speaking world. So Prabhupada did the same thing with Vasudev. And then Vasudev, being a great devotee actually, accepted that immediately as his life's mission. And he went out, and of course he gave his own money and some of his own property, but he went out begging amongst his associates. Actually, it was the Gujarati community that made that temple. You should be happy. You should visit there someday. So anyway, he went amongst his associates, and he was begging. Just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur went to establish the Gaura Vishnu Priya temple in the Yoga Pit. He was begging. He was actually begging everyone to give money, and he arranged for his whole family to become Krishna conscious. His brother Bhuvan Mohan, who had passed away, and he had two wives actually, Nandarani and Bhagavati. Nandarani passed away. Bhagavati is still with us, and they went out as a family, and they basically started the temple there. And then later Prabhupada came and he gave initiation to Vasudev and Bhuvan Mohan and Bhagavati, three members just three members of the family took initiation. And then Prabhupada arranged for the deities to be made. Prabhupada arranged for the installation, although Prabhupada wasn't there at the installation. And he actually laid the cornerstone for the Krishna Kaliya temple. So that's the story of Prabhupada in Fiji. So, Prabhupada really liked Fiji. And you see that wherever Prabhupada went, he would just give people instructions to do something. And some people did it and some people didn't. But the people who did it got empowered and they were successful in their activities. In South Africa, Prabhupada did a similar thing like that. So that's the order of the spiritual master. So, yes, so Prabhuji.
You mentioned something about Kalia started his devotional service in this chapter.
Yeah.
Can you say more about his consequent advancement?
I haven't talked to him lately. Well, he's protecting the devotees. In other words, instead of offending Vaishnavas, which is what he came to do, and you find that sometimes people come and they offend Vaishnavas, and they get a chance to be rectified. Look at Rasa Muni, other people like that, they get a chance to be rectified, but they're not supposed to do it twice. Krishna will forgive, just like with the holy names. When you chant the holy names, you get forgiven for offenses, but you cannot commit the same offense again, because if you commit the same offense again, that's committing offenses on the strength of chanting. So anyway, Kali got another chance, but unfortunately, we find people who are continually offensive, and there's no hope for them in this particular lifetime. And one thing I was dealing with, anyway, might as well mention it, right before class was that I had posted something on Facebook, and there were some really offensive comments made about it, which I actually erased before the class. There's no need to offend anyway. So Kaliya learned his lesson. So instead of offending, now he's serving the Vaishnavas. And I've actually experienced that in Fiji, that Kaliya, I mean, I haven't seen Kaliya directly except through the words of Srila Prabhupada, but Kaliya actually facilitates my service in Fiji. And one important thing that we've neglected insofar as serving Kaliya, who is a greatly advanced devotee now, is preaching to the natives who worship him. So we need to, I guess, import, because there's different racial situation there. There's some animosity between the Indians and the natives there for a variety of reasons. So we need to basically import some Western body people, either with a black skin or white skin, it really doesn't matter too much, to bring the natives to Krishna consciousness. Because Prabhupada wanted that. In Africa, Prabhupada got very upset when Brahmananda was just preaching to the Indians there. Generally we want to preach to people who are what we call low-hanging fruit. We don't want to get a ladder and climb the tree. But Prabhupada got very upset with Brahmananda. He said, no, we're here to preach to the natives. And then he arranged a program in one of the areas in South Africa, or Africa, I think it was Nigeria, if I remember correctly, to hold a big program. And then everyone came, everyone was dancing and chanting. And even he sent them out in Harinam, and they were scared. Because, sometimes things are a little scary there in Africa. I was listening to the memory that Prabhupada said, you all go out in Harinam. And even Brahmananda, who was really big, he's pretty scary. He was very scary, yeah. Anyway. And so they went out, and they were scared, and everybody received them very nicely. So many times we think that certain aspects of the population, that they're not going to receive Krishna consciousness, but we're wrong. Because Krishna consciousness is for everyone. Just like we have our workers here. And we think, oh, they're just workers, and some of them are smoking and do different things like that. We have to tolerate that. But we should be giving them so much prasadam and love when they come. I mean, one of the workers said to me yesterday, one of my favorite workers, his name is Chris. He said to me yesterday, I'm getting my life together by your mercy. He didn't use the word mercy. By your association. Because I expressed some interest in him. I said, you really have to stop taking certain things, I didn't get heavy. I said, we're concerned. He said, you don't understand how much it's done for me working here. And I was just like, wow. I was just so overwhelmed with Lord Chaitanya's mercy. So Lord Chaitanya's come to save everybody. Most fallen has the first claim. As Rupa Goswami said, I'm the most. Of course, Prabhupada said we shouldn't think that we're the most fallen, because if we do say that, we're thinking that we're the most prominent. Prabhupada said, you're not the most anything. That was Prabhupada's response. But we should be compassionate with everybody. I mean, not denigrate anybody. I mean, we can, if someone does something like a politician, we can denigrate the person's activities, but the person's a spirit soul. The person can be a recipient, as a potential recipient of Krishna's mercy. Okay, on that happy note, thank you for your patience. So, we'll greet the deities, and give me a second to connect to the deities through the internet. Jai Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda ki jai.